First of all, hello and welcome to an ATG webinar. And my name is Jeff Haney, and we are going to be talking about managing layers, layer states, and your layer filters. The agenda for today will be learn better layer filters, layer states, workflow, including the use of our CTC tools with Layer Boss. We'll touch base with a little bit about those buttons in Layer Boss, but the big thing is layer filters, layer states, and here in our normal AutoCAD. The current issue we'll talk about layer states, layer filters out of control. Sometimes they get a little messy, right? Sometimes they're all over the place and people don't know where to begin to help clean that up. So to continue our learning objectives, again, will be managing layer states, managing our layer filters, and managing layers. So with that, let's go ahead and flip over to our CAD. And right now, we are currently working in this ATG demo template. And what we're going to do is notice we have all of these layers in here. And that's pretty common for a template file or any file really. One of the things I would say for your template, always have them turned on and unfrozen and not locked. And also, if wherever you can, give them a good description. Here you will see some of them that has descriptions and some that don't. Anytime you can do it, go ahead and put a description in. As most people know, you can come in here, create a new layer, and you can give it an appropriate name, sign colors, and all that. That's your typical layer, create new, all that. And that's perfectly good. We covered that part, and I want you guys to remember that for down the road. So typical AutoCAD layer right there. Create and go. Now, some of what we want to make sure we cover is our layer filters. And layer filters keeps us organized. It helps keep us from using a long list of, like, say 233. I've seen some templates that have 600 layers in here. That's a nightmare to manage, right? So we can use layer filters to help. So right now we have these two in here by default. All use layers. There's 214. Architectural, there's a few here. Civil, 183. That is just wildcard it with C, basically. And invisible and survey. Survey is anything that starts with a V. How do I know how these properties work? If I go in here to the properties tab of the filter, I can see the name and I can see C dash and then the wildcard. The wildcard represents anything after that dash, it's going to get pulled. So C dash and then anything after it, it's going to pull this. So that helps us determine where we're at in the process, where we are going to go. So right now, you can take a look at the V. This one is going to have a V dash and then the wildcard. That's awesome. It lets us know which one's civil, which one is survey. So we might even get rid of a couple of these. Maybe you don't want those and you want something like this. Now we can get more in depth. We can go ahead and create new layer filters, and all I do is right click on it and you have what's called a new property filter and a new group filter. new group filter is kind of that basic old AutoCAD way of doing things where I can go in there, I can create my filter, and I can drag and drop these layers over it. That's cool. Still a little bit more maintenance than what I kind of want to do. So I like to use these property filters. And right from the get-go, it might be something like, okay, let's see something that is only text related. So I'll type in text. Over here, let's not worry necessarily about the wildcard right now, but let's type in TXT, because I can see that we have a few of them in here. So notice it doesn't pull anything right now. I have it text and I have it after, and nothing is populating down here. That's okay. Maybe I put the wildcard in front, and notice I start getting information. You can also do, some people have text in the middle somewhere, and you can do a wildcard before and after if you need to. In this case, we really don't need to. So I'm just going to leave it like that. We'll have a text, and now we see all these layers that have populated. And now we can only work with the text. That's awesome. I'm not looking at 300 layers anymore. I'm looking just at this. Also, another filter I like to use sometimes is for hatching. So I will call it hatch. This is basically going from a national CAD standards format. So I know it's going to be PATT is my hatching. And notice it starts populating things in here. I'll hit OK. And now I have just that group of hatch. It's easier to manage working with each one of these individually. Now that's cool. I showed you how to add it from here, but maybe I want to break it down and I want to do things inside a civil, inside a survey. I can do that. I can just come in here, right click on it, new properties filter, and maybe I'm typing in sanitary storm. Maybe this is just going to be utilities, if I can spell. And then I'm setting it up with some sewer stuff. And because the wording, I need one before and after in this case, because see, I have a C dash in front and I have a dash whatever behind it. So I need a wildcard in front and a wildcard behind. So now I'm going to do storm because I want to see maybe both of them together. And again, you can do them individually if you want to. That's actually the method I prefer, but since we went the utilities route, let's go this. So now I have the civil that contains all of our C dash layers, and then underneath of it, I have a group for utilities. That's fine. Maybe I changed my mind and I wanted to go back and say, okay, I actually do want this to be sanitary. I'll just come in here, take that out, hit OK, and now let's go ahead and do one for storm. Forgot the wildcard in front. And now I have it narrowed down by groups. And I can do that all the way through civil. I can do it all the way through survey. Now, let's say I need to add a new layer, right? And I'm working on our CAD standards. I'm working on managing it. I need to figure out, maybe a layer that I'm going to put in here. So it might be something as I come in here, right click, hit new layer, and that layer one starts it. Okay, that's awesome. It's in here, but if I click on civil, I don't see that layer in here. I don't see it in here as well. But if I come in back in here and I add this to our group, and you'll see why it's beneficial here in a minute. I hit OK. That starts populating. There's our layer 1. If we're doing storm, and I will have this wildcard layer and wildcard because when you create new layers, you have that layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, depending on how many you make. It just gives me a chance to work with just that group, especially if I'm in one of these. I'm like sanitary. Okay, I need to make a new layer. I go in here and I say new layer. It's going to tell me, hey, this isn't part of it, and it's going to add it to our all group, and it's going to add it to wherever I have that layer in there, layer filter in, but it's not going to add it to the ones that don't. But if I'm working in a category that only has 10 layers or whatever, and it's smaller, and it gives me opportunity to work with it better, I don't want to have to keep going back and forth or work with this big list. I'll just come in here and add these layer filters to my template, to my drawing, so I can always have it. Notice both layer 1 and layer 2 comes up. So it's just a matter of adding these in. Of course, whatever drawing you're currently working in, you'll add that there, but if you want to save time in the long run, be sure to include that in your template file. And it's just a matter of doing this. All right. So now we see that we have those layers in there. So layers, layer filters, all good. So let me go ahead and save that at the moment. Now, one thing that we have over here with our demonstration one is I don't have my layer filters that we just made up and running over there. I do have a few, but that's okay. But the main thing here is I'm going to start showing you some layer state stuff. And we're going to have this on one side and CAD on another. So when we're working with layer states, okay, we talked about layer filters. Layer filters is a good way to manage things as well. You can go right to a filter, you can turn things on and off, you're good. Layer states kind of will help you get to certain processes order. Maybe you are working on a grading plan. You want some certain things turned off, certain things turned to a different color, kind of like screened. You can do that. You can set up those layer states. I always say it will do the 80% of the work for you. You'll have to manage the other 20, just, you know, flexibility of what you want to do. If you come up here to our layer states, that is going to be underneath your ribbon, home, layers panel. Home panel, layers tab, whatever. We get in here and we can click on this layer states. And then here's already a few that is already made up for us. And notice as I'm flipping between these, it's kind of showing me different views. So you can see what it was before. Let's just hit Civil 3D Contours here. Notice some of these have been turned off. Some of the colors have been changed, all that. So that is a quick preview of what's going on here. Let's do contours. See how these have been changed over here? So it's given me that look of what I want. Now, if I'm setting up a template or I'm setting up different ones to use throughout, I will come in here and I will make sure, one, that all these layers are on, and two, that I have a layer states for that. This would be my fresh look. If I ever need to get back to the original, this is what it looks like. So let's go ahead and do that here. Let me undo a little bit. I want to get back to the beginning. So now we're back to the very beginning. So let's go ahead and work on a certain layer state for the moment. So we got this. Oh, I notice I have my Xrefs in here. Let's take Xrefs out for the moment. I'll show you how both Xrefs work for layer filters and layer states here in a moment. But now we have just what's currently in this drawing. So let's just go ahead and turn everything on. All right, so now I have everything turned on. Everything is as is when it comes in. Data shortcuts, Xrefs, whatever the case may be. So now with this, let's go ahead and hit save. If you guys don't do it, I highly suggest you save and save often. Just normal AutoCAD operating procedures here. So save often. Let's go up here to our layer states, and we're just going to manage our layer states. We don't have to go with these if you guys don't want to. Let's get rid of them if you want. So that's just a matter of deleting. So now let's say we want to do a new one. We'll do a new, and I'm going to call this ATG default. You can call it original, whatever the case may be. Something to let you know this is good. This is back to basics. This is coming from our ATG box template. So I'm going to just hit OK here. And if you go down here to edit, this is all the stuff that's going to show. If we'll modify one here in a minute, but this is back to default. Everything is turned on, as you can see. Everything's all the freezing ones is back to normal. Layers, colors is exactly how I want it to be. I'm just going to hit save, and now I have that. Okay, now let's go back and let's hit new. And maybe this time I am going to work on sanitary plan. I could put plan profile, sanitary, whatever that is good for you on what you need to know. So I'm going to come in here and edit, and now I can make this look however I want to at this particular time. So maybe it's a matter of freezing, not freezing, but maybe screening all this stuff here on the survey portion. Maybe turn that down to 254 and see how it changes here. We can even turn the line type something different. Now, maybe water, I want to keep showing. Storm, maybe I want that to be on, but not as screened as the other one. So let's just make that a little bit bolder. And then all these roads, except for the actual one I turned off. We'll do something like that. So, and now everything from here up, let's go ahead and put this on a different color altogether, just so we can see it a little differently. And also let's make this dashed. So now if you go through here, this is my sanitary plan, how I wanted to see when I flip to a layer state. I'm just going to hit save. And now it's telling me which one is being currently used. I'm still using my default. That's fine. Let's go ahead and make one more, and let's call this hatch. We'll go edit. Anything that is not a PATT, we're going to turn off. It's just a matter of coming in here, clicking, and making sure we get the right stuff. And of course, it might take some time. You guys might need to play with a couple of these filters to get it however you want it to be, but I think you'll see the benefit as you start using this more and more. And also when you get ready to do sheet production, I think it's very handy when you start getting those sheets the way that you want it to be set up. As you can see, it's not all that time consuming, but it can get there. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and turn the rest of that like that. So now I got a default, I got a hatch, and I got a sanitary. So what I want you guys to notice as I flip through things, look over here on the layer properties. So I come back up here, and all I'm going to do is flip between them. Here's our hatch. And if I had a hatch pattern on, you would see that there's hatching on here. And notice if I filter my properties, all the ones that have hatch are on, everything else is off, except for our ZZ should still be on because I left that. And it is. So that's all good. Now I flip through it again, and let's do sanitary plan. I can see some things have been turned off compared to the original. I could see some have been grayed out as well. So that part is all good. And if we filter again, see all those have been turned off. And let's filter by line types. We have a lot that we turn to -2, and we can tell that right there. Now let's say, oh yeah, that's good, but I need to quickly see something with everything. I'll just turn it back to default, and now it's all good. If we had our layer filters in here, you would see those behave that same way. So let's go ahead and add a sanitary one in here. And let's go ahead and add a storm one. Naming is always key, so make sure you guys follow your naming convention and also the way you name your filters too. So let's just go ahead and do that, and let's go back to that sanitary one, and notice this is in fact color 9, where our sanitary is the original colors that we left it at still. So all that is behaving as we figured. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this again. Now, what happens when we Xref stuff in, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take an Xref. We'll do these two. That's fine. This is still as we expect. It's still the original. We are set up good. So let's go ahead and apply that layer filter. Nothing is going to change on the Xrefs because we don't have that set up. We can go in depth on something like that. We are not going to go that in depth today, but you can do that. But let's go ahead and filter that sanitary on, and let's see how that looks with our Xrefs in place. These are now turned off, and these are off. If you had a base plan or a container file or anything like that, you could say, hey, I want to add these Xrefs in there and turn them on and off as I need there. And then if you go and Xref that into a sheet file, it would behave that way. So let's go ahead and take that Xref out. And let's go back over here to our layer filters. And let's see how Xrefs behave with a layer filter. So layer manager, notice how they are currently. Let's go ahead and add in that Xref. Okay, now we have our Xrefs, and notice an Xref filter comes in basically, and it's one of these here, and it shows it as kind of grayed out and available. These are based off of that Xref. How does our civil look? We can go through here and we can scroll down, and if we saw it in here, it would list it. Sewer, storm, hatch, survey. So of course I picked a bad one to show. Let's oh, there we go, text. So see how we have these normal ones, the ones that are bold, that's what's actually in your drawing. The ones that are grayed out like these two, that is coming from your Xref. So our layer filters are still processing that information. It is going to include it in our filter because of how we have our wildcards. So that is a good setup with that part. All right, let's go ahead and take these out. Now, one thing that we can cover is how to import and export layer states from one drawing to another. And that is as simple as going back into our manage area. And notice it just has these two in here. If we go back into our demo one, and let's go ahead and save it. We'll go to manage layer states. And I want to take all these over. I can just say export layer state. And usually I have a place on my folder, project folder, where I keep a layer state area. And it might be something in here, and it might just be layer states, LAS, however you want to abbreviate it. Put it in, keep the actual name how it is. We'll hit save. We'll do the same process, see how it makes that LAS. And we'll do that for all of these. And this is good to have as your defaults for your template. So if you go ahead and make one from your template and have it out there, it's good to have so you can put these in even in existing projects, and you also always have a backup just in case. So now we'll take this, we'll go over here to our template. Since we didn't add it, we'll be like, oh man, I don't want to recreate anything. So let's just go ahead and oops, I hit export. Let's do an import. We are going to browse for our LAS. So we'll have to switch our file type to LAS. And we click on it and we can import it in, and it says layer states, and you can read it, successfully imported. Do you want to restore any layer states? I do not want to restore anything. I want to keep it as it is whenever I came from it. So I'm just going to say close. So now that default has been added. Let's go ahead and hit hatch. And we'll go ahead and do sanitary as well. So if you have a layer states that you put in and you're drawing your project that you're working on, and you'll be like, hey, I think this would be beneficial for the whole group. Mr. CAD Manager, Mrs. CAD Manager, can you put this into our template? He or she will review it, and they will put it into the template, or have a conversation and then put it in, or put it in. So those are all good things that you can do. Okay, I do have a question. So is it possible to set up Xref layer states for future Xrefs, i.e. for sheet templates? Yes, exactly how we just did it. But now the key here is when I get ready to make a sheet file or a container file or anything like that, I will go ahead and apply my, say I get everything I want done. This is going to answer two questions. One, yes, you can make the layer states for future Xrefs. Two, can I use this and from my, what do they call it, container file, and put it over into my sheet file? Yes. So just create your layer states like normal, like we just did. Now that's available for future use. You can import those in as you need it, or based off a template, if you already know those layers, you can set those up for that layer states to go forward. And then to answer the other question about the container file, go ahead and make these layers how you want. Go ahead and set this. Let's go ahead and put this as a sanitary. So now that is set up already with these layers in mind. And let's go ahead and hit save. And now, if we bring that into here, which I don't want to do at the moment, let's do a file save as, and we'll do test layers. And now we Xref this one in based off of these changes here. You're going to see that whatever is in this one is going to hold coming over. So this would be a good way to use your layer states to get you that farther along. And where did I put that? Demo. And then we'll hit open, overlay as it comes in. Notice this file here is exactly the same as this based off that layer state. So if I had, like I said before, if I had a grading plan that I was going to, I'd change all this to that grading layers, apply that layer state for grading or sanitary, depending on what plane you're working with. Save it. The key there is save it. It has to be saved at that point. Come into that drawing, attach it, and it's based, those layers have now been applied. So if I go in here to my layer states, I can see where these have been changed. Civil, here's the one for sanitary, here's storm, hatch, all that. So now those have been applied, and I can go ahead and take the next steps and try to get it better. Any questions on that part in that process before we switch gears? And if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, please just email me, text me, whatever the case may be. Okay. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about managing layers, but this time let's use the CTC Tools Layer Boss. So I am going to go ahead and close these out. And sometimes managing layers is easy. Sometimes managing layers is hard, especially when you're doing CAD cleanup. I have actually a person on here who has done that cleanup before, and I think he will appreciate the layer manager part of it. But let's go in here and let's take a look at our layers. So we now have all these layers in here, 235. We can see they've all been turned on, off, what the context is, all that. So if we come over here to our Sims Manager Suite, and this is ATG's tools. This is CTC's tools. It's another partner company of ours. They created this. It's helped make our life easier as doing CAD management work. We also have Sims Project Suite stuff. We're going to deal today with Sims Manager Suite, specifically this Layer Boss. Now, Layer Boss will let you export, create and edit object layers. So our object layers for Civil 3D, which is this. It'll help manage this. And also our AutoCAD layers themselves, which is this. And you can even use this same thing with basic AutoCAD or anything that has AutoCAD layering system as far as these are concerned. Object layers obviously is Civil. So let's say I want to not use this format to help manage my layers. I like Excel a little bit better. So what this is going to do is write our layers to Excel. So let's do export. We can do from this current drawing. We want to manage our template. We want to see what's in our template. So we are going to look at this. We're going to say export to Excel. And now it's going to say, where do we want to put this? Go ahead and put it someplace that you guys can get to quickly, or a place that you have for our drawings and stuff to manage our templates. So ATG demo. So I usually like to call it whatever the drawing is, and then layer properties manager, or like export, import, anything like that. This is going to be, maybe we do something like this. This is just kind of my process and how I do it. I'm taking this from our template right now and I'm exporting it out. So I'm just going to hit save. Do you want to open the file? Yes. What this is going to do is open up an Excel. And now we have the ability to manage this here in Excel. It's already got stuff built in for us. If we need to change our colors, we can change our colors. We can add names. We can change our description from here. Remember I said descriptions are important. And maybe it's something like this. All the way through. You can go all the way down, changing anything. We can come over here. We can see that we have all these layers. And we have that layer 1 and layer 2. I told you guys to remember that we were going to come back. So let's, what do we want to call that one? So let's do C Road 2G demo. And let's call this test 1. And then while we're at it, we can go ahead and change these here if we wanted to, all that. So, but let's do something different. So let's play with the survey stuff here. So let's work on this category right here. So maybe I want, the only thing about this one is color is not a drop down one. So maybe I enter 9. Did I copy that? Copy. Change that. Didn't mean to change that one. But we can use Excel and its formats to what we need. This one here, this line type, this is kind of more where it wasn't a drop down. Now we have this drop down here, so we can say phantom, and then we can just apply this all the way through. So we can use Excel and its functionality to help get us to some things that we want. We can also take out a few items and delete things. So let's take out one of the hatch ones. Hopefully this isn't in a style, but we can tell that here in a little bit. So we're going to delete that one. And we made some changes, all that, all looks good. So now let's go ahead and do a file save as. We'll do the same thing, but now I'm going to say, hey, I want to import this in. This is just record keeping for me. I can come back, I can look at it at any time and see what I need. Go ahead and hit save. I got my changes. And here, let's, just for fun, let's go ahead and copy this in and change some of these this way. Just so we have more things that you can see that have been changed. We'll go ahead and hit save and let's minimize. Now what we can do is, okay, I've made my changes over in Excel. I want to bring it back in. So now I'm going to create edit our DWG. It's going to say what Excel are we going to bring it from. Since I know this is the imported one, I'm just going to grab the imported. Here it's going to say, do I want to synchronize it or do I just want to go ahead and hit add to drawing layers? I want to synchronize it because I want to see what's happening. What is it changing? Go ahead and hit next. And now I have a list of what's going on. Layers added. Here's that layer 1 and layer 2 that we had. We changed the name, so it's saying we're adding these layers. And that at the same time down here, notice that's saying layer 1 and layer 2 has been deleted. So this list could get really long if you have them all expanded out. But if you don't need to expand it out and it's overwhelming, just minimize it, what you're looking at, and you're fine. So notice if it's green, it's kind of like a stoplight. If it's green, it's good. It's made these changes and it's successful. And this is what's going to be added to our template now. So those color changes over here, these descriptions, and if I go down, even the line types, they've all been changed and they're good to be put in. Our new layers, as we mentioned, and then our layer 2, it's going to, they're going to get deleted and cannot be deleted because it's a reference. Remember I said I hope that one is not in a civil style. Now it's telling me it is. So I know I can't manage that until I get rid of it. You guys know how, if you're a civil, you guys know how object layers work. So we'd have to go in there and change that out. So it's giving me my list of reports that I can and cannot do. So let's go ahead and we'll just say, okay. It's going to tell me about that one that I'm having issues with. And it should be good now. Or I have to make that edit. So let's go back over here. See what happened. Nope. And so I do have to make the switch over here. So I might need to go back or say, hey, just let's ignore that, right? So let's keep that off. And there's probably a red one in here somewhere that I overlooked. So this is the beauty of things that you can and can't do. So it will let you know this. Okay, so this is red, so it's not liking something. So I may have to go back into there and rerun my report of that. And that's what I'm going to have to do. So now I know I have some changes to do. So let's pull that back up. And this is why it's good to have that record keeping skills, so you can find things and make the edits. So for time saving purposes, let's just open up our exported one. Let's just change a few things here instead of trying to, oops, that's not what I wanted to do there. Let's just change a few things here. Just so we can see things going on. We have our red, we have our green. Hopefully I don't have red. So now we got this. Let's see if it takes this time. Now we can see these have been changed. Here's our dash. So now we have successfully updated our template We can save it and move forward. Yes, I actually use this method when I am building templates, and I actually use object layers to help change stuff too. So object layers, as you guys know from Civil, it's these guys right here. And I can export this out just kind of like I did for the Layer Boss for layers. I can say this current drawing. I can hit Tix Cell. Same type of situation. I can give it the name and export import. And here's my list. And if I need to go through and modify layers, I have this, and I can have this up on one screen, cat open on another screen, and I can say which layers I want to change. Then I can come right back in here and say, import this from that file. And what it will do is update these based off of our layers that we have. So that is object layers. Thank you for asking that. So we have learned about managing layer states, managing layer filters, and Layer Boss. So obviously managing layers with Layer Boss is easier. You can always do it the manual way and type them in and manage it that way. And feel free to use those layer filters in your template all the way through, as well as layer states. Put your layer filters, layer states in your template. That way you don't have to recreate them every time. You have it mostly done. If you need to tweak it here and there, you can. And if you have any questions, send me an email, jhaney@atgusa.com. And thank you for your time.